According to the modern science of genetics, there is a consensus on the arrival of humans on the land of the subcontinent between 73,000 years ago and 55,000 years ago. The monuments are 30,000 years old, while regular human life began around 7,000 BC, full of upheavals of food supply, farming and herding. At Mehrgarh there are traces of barley and wheat production, and there are also evidences that show that the trend of rearing of sheep, goats and cattle etc. By 4500 BC, human life spread to different fields and gradually emerged on the world map in the form of the Indus Valley Civilization. This civilization is considered as one of the first civilizations of ancient times. It was contemporary with the civilizations of ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. The Indus Valley Civilization flourished from 2500 BC to 1900 BC in the region of the subcontinent that is now located in Pakistan and northwestern India. Urban planning, brick houses, solid drainage system and good water supply system are among the characteristics of this civilization. In the early 2nd millennium BC, persistent famines and droughts forced the population of the Indus Valley to disperse, and its inhabitants migrated sporadically from large cities to rural areas. In the same period, the Indo-Aryan tribes came out of Central Asia and entered the Punjab region. From here the Vedic period begins. A notable human achievement of this period is the compilation of the Vedas, which contain hymns to the gods and goddesses of these tribes. Varun system was also prevalent in these tribes, which later came in the form of caste. Under this system, the Indo-Aryan tribes divided Indian society into pundits, warriors, chieftains, and peasants, commoners, after which the local population was called and looked down upon by their professional names. These wise, brave, powerful and civilized Indo-Aryan tribes spread from the Punjab to the Gangetic plains and converted the forests of the region into flat plains for the purpose of cultivation. The compilation of Vedic texts came to an end by about 600 BCE, and with it a new inter-regional culture emerged. The small chiefdoms, or janpads, began to form large states, or Maha-Janpads, together, and thus after the end of the Indus Valley Civilization, urban settlement began again in the subcontinent. On the other hand, several religious movements emerged during the same period, among which Jainism and Buddhism are notable. These movements strongly opposed the growing influence of Brahmanism and began to question the superiority of Vedic rites, which were performed only by Brahmin pundits. As the influence of the opposing ideas of these movements increased in the society of the subcontinent, new religious concepts began to flourish, and their success forced Brahmanism to create a new mix by combining the cultures and civilizations already existing in the subcontinent. It was called Hinduism. During the 4th and 3rd centuries BC, most of the Indian subcontinent was conquered by the Aryan dynasty, the Maurya Empire. From the 3rd century BC, the development of Prakrit and Pali literature in North India and Tamil and Sangam literature in South India began, and the literature of these languages went beyond their geographical borders to foreign countries. During the classical period, various kings ruled over different regions of India for the next 1500 years, in which the Gupta Empire is distinguished for several reasons. In this era, Hinduism and its thinkers re-emerged, their activities increased and Brahmanism got a boost again. For these reasons, this period is called Golden Age of India. During this period, various aspects of Indian culture and religion and culture were introduced to the greater region of Asia, and the kingdoms of South India established their trade links with the Middle East and the Mediterranean Sea through sea routes. So, now the large part of Southeast Asia started to be influenced by the civilization and culture of India, and this situation further paved the way for the establishment of pure Indian kingdoms, Hindustani Azma, in Southeast Asia. Among the events that took place between the 7th and 11th centuries AD, the most important event is the Sagana competition, which was centered at Kannauj. The rivalry between the Pala Empire, the Rashtrakut Empire and the Gurjar Pratihar Empire lasted for more than 2 centuries. From the middle of the 5th century AD, South India became the focus of various royal wars, notably the Chalukyas, Cholas, Pallavas, Cheras, Pandyas and the Western Chalukyas. After conquering South India in the 11th century AD, the Chola rulers invaded parts of Southeast Asia including Sri Lanka, Maldives and Bengal. In the early Middle Ages, Indian mathematics, the Hindi-Arabic number system, had a profound impact on the development of astronomy and mathematics in the Arab world. At the beginning of the 8th century, the Arabs came to the subcontinent and established their rule in Afghanistan and Sindh. Then came Mahmud Ghaznavi in the late 10th century and early 11th century. In the year 1206, the Central Asian Turks founded the Delhi Empire and consolidated their power over a large part of northern India until the early 14th century AD, but they began to decline as the 14th century ended. Deccan kingdoms emerged from the decline of the Delhi Empire. The Bengal Empire also emerged as an important power and ruled continuously for 3 centuries. In the same period of decline of the Delhi Empire, various other powerful Hindu and Rajput states were also established alongside the Vijayanagara Empire and the Maurya Kingdom. Sikhism emerged in the 15th century AD. The modern era begins from the 16th century AD when the Mughal Empire conquered a large area of the Indian subcontinent and presented the earliest examples of industrialization to the world and became the largest economy in the world. During the Mughal Empire, India's gross domestic product was a quarter of the world's domestic product, more than the total domestic product of Europe. The gradual decline of the Mughals in the early 18th century allowed the Marathas, the Sikhs, the Mysores, the Nizams, and the Nawabs of Bengal to assert themselves over a large area of the Indian subcontinent and soon became separate states. From the middle of the 18th century to the middle of the 19th century, most of the areas of India were gradually occupied by the East India Company, which the British Empire declared as its independent agent and viceroy on the land of India. But the people of India were very disgusted and resentful of Company Raj. As a result, in 1857, a great wave of freedom movement arose, and from North India to Central India, this wave breathed the spirit of independence, but this movement could not be successful. The British Empire then dissolved the company and India came directly under the British Crown. After the First World War, Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, Muhammad Ali Johar, Abul Kalam Azad, Mohandas Gandhi and other Hindu Muslim leaders, through their writings, speeches and magazines and journals, started the freedom movement throughout India. First the Khilafat movement, then the Indian National Congress, mobilized this spirit of the people of India in the form of a campaign. After some time All India Muslim League also joined in this struggle. It was only a short period of time that the leaders of the Muslim League raised the demand for a separate Muslim majority state, and gradually this demand gained momentum. Finally, with the consent of the Congress leadership, the British Empire decided to partition India. As a result of this decision, India was divided into 2 parts named Dominion of India and Dominion of Pakistan, and with this India got rid of British colonialism.